They do have a timeout. Decide not to use it. Curry, way downtown. Bang! Bang! Oh, what a shot from Curry! With 0.6 of a second remaining.
Yo, what's up, everybody? This is the Outlet Pass Podcast. I am your resident JT McConnell. Homie's homie. More importantly, my real name, Justin DiVirgilio, joining me today for episode 37 of the Outlet Pass Podcast. I wish I knew my numbers. Episode 37 of the Outlet Pass Podcast. My man, friend of the show, and Sixer Sense writer like myself, Joey DiProsperos. How you doing, Joey?
My guy, how you been, man?
I've been doing good, just watching ball, trying to enjoy the first week of the season. Halloween around. I'm not really a Halloween guy, but it's around. How you doing up there in New York?
We're chilling up here, man. Yeah, we got Halloween coming up. Going to be a big weekend. Obviously still grinding with school, but still managed to watch some ball for the first week.
Yeah, you've been using the free week of League Pass, or no?
Oh yeah, I got to take advantage of that deal. That's a great deal, man.
Well, I actually have League Pass, so I'm just waiting for all you type of people to not have it anymore. So the top right of my corner doesn't say free. You are watching a free preview. It's like, no, dude, I bought it. I'm just waiting, waiting for it to be mine, and not something you're giving out as charity, which is great and very nice. But I'm waiting for that December 13th game, Kings. I don't know, Suns. I don't even know if they play that day. I was just making something up.
No, those are the games that League Pass was made for. Those random West Coast games when you're just chilling at like 10:30 on a Tuesday night.
You're exactly right. Since we mentioned the West Coast, let's stay out there because the Battle of LA kicked off the season at the 10:30 slot, and Lakers-Clippers prevailed. In the home game, Clippers were booed. Kawhi became yet another meme with the hey. And my focus on it was after the loss, LeBron commented that it is not a rivalry. And LeBron, you are right. Look, the Clippers are really, really good for the first time in a while, since the Lob City era. And the Lakers are supposed to be really, really good for the first time since 2012. And they've never been really good and pitted against each other for the Western Conference throne ever, right? Maybe 1 year when CP3 was there, maybe the first year. But other than that, they have never been pitted against each other. So, yes, everybody's new. And it's not a rivalry because it's brand new and you want to focus on the season day by day. All that good veteran shit. LeBron, that's why you have been the best player for years now. But stop taking the fun out of it. We don't have any rivalries. What do you think, Joey?
Yeah, I mean, when you're looking at the full scope and all throughout NBA history, yes, it's fair to say that Lakers-Clippers has never been a true rivalry per se, like Sixers-Celtics or anything to that effect. But like you said, yeah, I mean, this year is really the first year where you can say that it's going to be pretty much a rivalry because, the Lakers, they've had their whole dynasty throughout the 2000s. And then when Lob City came around, that's when the Lakers went, into tank mode again. But, yeah, I mean, I just think it was coming off a loss and LeBron was just talking. So, yeah, this year is the first year we can officially say that Lakers-Clippers is a rivalry for sure.
Yeah, I just don't like it because he sounds like get off my lawn Twitter. LeBron finally sounds old. Like now everybody knows he's getting older, but now he sounds just like negative because of, I don't know, I attribute to his age and how long he's been in the league. And obviously, like I said before, he has to stay in the tunnel vision of game by game, day by day, basically practice, getting better because they're still learning, the Lakers, that is. I don't like it. It also doesn't affect the league that much, but in my mind it kind of does because they have no marquee rivalry. Yes, they can bring back Boston, Philly, like you mentioned. That's the only other one. If I really think about it around the league, there's no rivalries. Like Portland, Oklahoma City could have been one based off of last year. Oklahoma City, completely different team. Who else? You can't do Sixers, Raptors, completely different. Well, not completely different team, but the main two people besides Siakam, Danny Green, Kawhi, no longer there. They're in the city we're talking about, L.A. So all these.
No, yeah. Plus, I just think too. I mean, LeBron is a master when it comes to manipulating the media, and I think he does take some joy out of throwing those little tidbits in there to just kind of stoke the fires a little bit, because it'll get people like us fired up and it'll get us talking about his team.
Yeah, you're right. And I hate the over coverage of LA. I've said this to whoever I talk to about sports over the years with the Lakers, because they weren't good. But ESPN and Bleacher Report, all the people still followed what the Lakers did because it is a hot button. There's so many people there. It's such a legendary franchise and so pivotal to the league's popularity. But now you have the hub of basketball. Now it's in Southern California. So it makes sense for this to be a rivalry. And I don't think this will really affect what the NBA decides to do with the marketing of Clippers-Lakers. But it doesn't. I don't like it. It frustrates me.
No, it's going to be a rivalry this year. I just think that LeBron wasn't thinking big picture right after a loss on opening night. He was just in the moment, and he was just talking, and he just wanted to throw that out there.
Okay. Side note, what do you think of point guard LeBron?
I like it. I mean, he obviously has the IQ, the passing ability, and all the attributes you want out of a guy who can run point. I mean, obviously, we love to see LeBron getting out in transition, throwing down all those ferocious dunks and all that, and, going off for 30-plus every single night. But he can be the ultimate floor general on a team when he wants to. And we saw a little bit of that in the first couple games, I think. I mean, I didn't get a chance to watch a whole lot of it, but he can easily be a point guard.
Yeah, a lot of their offense is kind of like a makeshift triangle. It's LeBron at the top of the key and AD posting up, and he throws in great entry passes. Then there's shooters spacing the floor on the other side, so it either goes to LeBron, AD, or swung to a shooter. So I was thinking about this yesterday. I think he still needs someone that can play point guard too, where you have to account for LeBron when he doesn't have the ball, because everybody pays attention to the person with the ball. But somehow, if you forget 1, 2, or 3 possessions out of the game, when you forget LeBron is moving off the ball and he gets a bucket instinctually following a rebound or cutting, type of stuff like that, it's just a different element. But obviously, he's the best point guard for the job on the roster right now, even though he's not actually a point guard.
But yeah, you mentioned roster construction. I mean, if you look at the Lakers roster,
the solution's not there right now.
Yeah, it's not there right now because, I mean, you have Avery Bradley, who is still fine on defense, but is probably the most inefficient offensive player in the last few years. And you have Quinn Cook, and then you got Alex Caruso. So you're almost forced to have LeBron play extended point guard minutes on any given night.
Yeah, you're right. You're definitely right about that. I just feel like they need to fix that at some point this season. Let's move on to the Clippers. Like we said, the Clippers opened up and beat the Lakers handedly. I believe Kawhi had 30 points, just looking exactly like Kawhi looks on offense and defense. Then handled the Warriors, christening the new Chase Center with a smack to the face of the Warriors. And then they lost to the Suns in Phoenix. So an interesting week for what looks like the best team in the NBA week 1. What do you think?
Yeah, obviously that Phoenix loss was a little tough, but you've seen it in the first few games of the season how really how deep this team is when you compare it to the Lakers. They have such a reliable, diverse assortment of weapons. Obviously, you have Kawhi. You have a dog in Montrezl Harrell coming off the bench. You got the sharpshooter in Landry Shamet. You got Zubac, who's a solid center down low. Obviously, the walking bucket in Lou Williams. And then you got guys like the Harkless. And they're so built for playoff basketball when it comes around. And they're going to be so scary and fun to watch throughout the course of this season.
Yeah, I was watching specifically the Warriors game, which is not the best sample size or representation of the defense the Clippers will face, because the Warriors' defense is atrocious so far. But just the way they were moving the ball, and Kawhi was made a couple passes that I just didn't see him make before. And I don't know if he grew as a playmaker or he just made the right pass, or just the system and the players he has around him, that attention was forced on him in the paint, and somebody like Patrick Patterson or Mo Harkless was open. But just watching that, it was so interesting and very enjoyable. I like watching the Clippers, and I'm basically scouting the Clippers in case the Sixers meet them in June, which is my prediction. So that's how it goes. Of course, Lou Williams on the other side too. So like that, him and Harrell have a lethal pick and roll combo, one of the best pick and roll combos in the league. Man, the Clippers are a problem, to say the least.
There's no question that they're the best team in the West. It's going to take catastrophic injuries to slow them down. And we haven't even mentioned the fact that they're getting Paul George back in, a month maybe? Or a little bit before that. So
yeah, that's the craziest part.
And if Paul George is at full health, then, they're going to run over the West.
Yeah, those two players are probably the two perfect guys besides Kevin Durant that you literally place on any team, and it's like, all right, cool. All they're going to do is help us. Hello?
Yeah. Yeah, but their games complement each other so well. You have Kawhi as the playmaker, and then you can have PG just running around the perimeter looking for open shots. They're going to be so fun to watch once they get back together and start to develop chemistry amongst each other. It's going to be insane.
What did you think of Patrick Beverley asking the Warriors crowd where were they going in that blowout loss?
I love Bev, man. I didn't even mention him. And you got a defensive menace in Patrick Beverley, and a guy who's always, talking and chirping and everybody. But my favorite story that came out of that game, I don't know if you saw it, but apparently he was talking to Steph, and he told Steph, "You had the last few years, the next 5 years are mine." And Steph went, "Dude, aren't you 31?"
Yeah, I saw that too. That was a great response.
Dude, Beverly's just pure entertainment.
I love Steph's comeback. I know
got him there.
Yeah, I'm probably going to be one of the only people still rooting for the Warriors. Like I want to see them continue to do well because I like their foundation. Yeah, I know it's easy to bully them now because they bullied the league, but that's just my stance. And we'll talk more about the Warriors later. And more Pat Bev real quick. I like how Devin Booker gave it right back to him in the Suns win. Like, I want them to play. I want every person that guards Devin Booker to talk to him like that, because it's just something with like athletes. Certain ones, if you chirp at like that, they like to talk, and it only helps them intensify their focus more.
Yeah, I never seen Booker talk that much, especially talking back to a guy like Beverly.
Yeah,
you never see guys. Obviously guys talk to Bev, but you never see guys actually clap back at him that aggressively.
Yeah, that was kind of where I was coming from. That was very surprising. Someone who's not too far away from us in age, but Devin Booker 23 or 22, turning 23, and he's just a stone cold scorer. Like, he lets his scoring talk, but like the fact that he was they were running back on defense and just nodding their heads at each other, talking. Yeah, I like the energy. Week 1, it was full of moments. You know?
Oh yeah, there were a bunch of moments. I love that Phoenix team, by the way. They're not going to be as terrible as they were, the last few years. They'll probably win. I mean, they're still not going to be good. They're probably not going to be a playoff team. But I just love the fact that I just love the fact that they added Ricky Rubio next to Booker so that he can actually play with an actual point guard and take that, ball handling and playmaking pressure off of him.
And someone to learn from, because in that same game, Devin Booker, the one play that stood out to me, he made a great damn near cross-court pass. It was from the left wing to the right corner, a one-handed, right-handed pass from about 35 feet, right on the money. They missed the shot, but I was like, that's a great way to initiate the possession. So maybe that the passing and playmaking from Ricky Rubio rubbed off already.
Yeah, I mean, it's not a knock on Booker to say that he needed a real point guard to play next to him to elevate his game. But Booker's just not a point guard. He's a straight 2 guard who you give the ball to him, and tell him to just go get a bucket. That's just his style of play. He's not a point guard. So the fact that he has a guy who he has an experienced point guard, and Ricky Rubio especially, to play next to him is just huge for, to elevate his overall game.
You're definitely right. Now let's move on to the most important team in the NBA to me, you, and many other people we know. Those Philadelphia 76ers. 3-0, the only undefeated team in the Eastern Conference. Started off with a win against Boston at home. A home opener I attended. It was electric. Sloppy game until the second half. Did you watch opening night?
I did manage to watch opening night. I watched the first half in my dorm, and then I had practice, but then I watched the second half the next morning. So I managed to catch that whole thing.
What'd you take away from it?
Well, the defense is absolutely insane and smothering, which we all expected going in. And the sloppy offense, I think, was to be expected because they're still meshing together and learning, and guys were just missing shots left and right. But the fact that they shot, around 30% from 3 in that opening night and still won by 14, it shows you how scary they can be once everything starts to click and guys start making shots. I mean, they could potentially be the number 1 seed in the East. I'm still of the belief that Milwaukee is probably going to end up with the number 1 seed. But if everything clicks and they have a decent shooting season across the board, they could challenge Milwaukee for that number 1 spot.
Yeah, I agree with you. And just two takeaways for me from that game were Ben's performance overall. He was a plus 16 on plus minus, 11 to 16 from the floor. He had basically a 2-to-1 assist to turnover ratio. Had an incredible right-handed layup in the third quarter on the break, where it was just, like I said, just incredible. And Tobias Harris, although he struggled to me, mightily in the first half, I just thought he passed up some shots. Should have been more aggressive, or then passed too much, like one pass too many. But then I looked up in like the third or fourth quarter, and I was like, wow, he has 15 points and 15 rebounds. I can get down with that if Tobias is not really doing the most on offense, helping end those defensive possessions, as he is out of the starting lineup the worst defender out of those 5. And of course, Matisse Thybulle, Yeah.
Of course, Matisse is a stud. But plus it's so nice now to have a team, at least a Sixers team, that can live on its own when Joel Embiid is sitting on the bench, because he got his 5th foul at the 10-minute mark, and they were up 6, I believe, and then they ended up increasing that margin by 14 by the end of the game. It's so nice to not have to stress in the stretch run when Joel is sitting about losing a lead. It's so nice.
Yeah, you're definitely right. Someone that didn't play terrible was Furkan Korkmaz, which I was very surprised with. I'm sure a lot of us were. He even took a charge.
Yeah, I mean, the last few games he's been shaky, but it was fun seeing him actually not be bad in the opener.
Yeah, and of course, that's great. That's a great segue. We could talk about the rest of the games, like the Detroit game, 117-111 win by the Sixers. Tobias Harris was the biggest factor in that game, giving the Sixers scoring when they needed it. Furkan was terrible in that game. I liked the overall win. Mike Scott picked it up, had 5 threes. Ben had a career-high 7 steals. They really buckled down when they had to, and a lot of it is the same sentiment for the Atlanta game last night as we're recording on a Tuesday. The team really relied on Joel Embiid and their defense. Last 2 games have been not the best, just like the first one. I mean, all 3 games have been sloppy overall. But seeing the team pull out victories and making the right plays when they're supposed to is a great sign early on.
Yeah, and I think the Detroit game, I think, was a really good litmus test to see how they are without Joel Embiid in the starting lineup, because that was the whole thing we were talking about coming into the season. They finally have a team that can stay afloat when Joel is out of the game. And you saw that with Al Horford. He had a slow start, but he came back, ended up with 23 points. Tobias stepped up scoring. And they pulled out that gutsy win in Detroit. And then last night you saw just how Joel can absolutely take over a game towards the end and just will them to another gutsy win in Atlanta. And getting back to the defense, I felt like the defense last night definitely recovered, especially after that first quarter when they gave up 40 points to Atlanta and Trey was just absolutely killing them. I just think, and then after that they only allowed 63 points in 3 quarters. So the defense recovered, but a lot of great signs in the first 3 games of this season.
Did you know Matisse Thybulle is the only player besides Michael Jordan with 8 steals and 4 blocks in his first 3 career NBA games?
I mean, he's insane. I'm not surprised at that at all.
But you didn't know that.
I did not know that.
So I think we drafted the next Michael Jordan.
I mean, A + B = C.
Pythagorean theorem, just squared. Isn't that what that
exactly. Yep.
Yeah.
That's pretty much, A squared + B squared = C squared, but yeah, pretty much.
All right. I haven't done that in a long time. I haven't been to school in a while. So forgive me. Forgive me. He had 4 steals last night in the Atlanta win. And next big test for the Sixers, well, I think it should be must-watch TV if you have League Pass. I don't know if the free week expires today or tomorrow, but tomorrow, Wednesday night, the Sixers take on the Timberwolves, so Karl-Anthony Towns against Joel Embiid will be must-watch television.
I mean, yeah. If you're not tuning into that and you're a Sixers fan, I don't know what you're doing.
Well, if you're an NBA fan, I feel like if there aren't better games on at 7 o'clock, you should be watching that one. Because the Timberwolves are actually undefeated. It's a battle of unbeatens yet again.
Again, yeah, and another game against an unlikely undefeated team. Karl-Anthony Towns has had an insane start to his season. Whoa, I'm trying to find his averages right now.
I believe it's probably around like 35 and 15. He's pulling up from 3 a lot more than I expected from Cat. Like he's jab stepping them pulling up.
Yeah, he's putting up 32
insane.
a game. 32 a game with 13 boards, 5 assists, and he's shooting 52% from 3-point range on a solid amount of attempts too.
Dude, that's lethal. That's already all-star worthy. That he might crack second team All-NBA if he keeps going at that rate or close to it.
Nah, I think he's stuck in the third team All-NBA purgatory because of Jokic, obviously.
So if he has better numbers than Jokic, he won't get second All-Team NBA?
Nah, he'll get second team if his numbers across the board are better than Jokic. But NBA people absolutely love Jokic. So I would not be surprised if for some reason he ends up on third team and Jokic is on second team.
All right, that's fair. Let's move on to Kyrie Irving and the Brooklyn Nets. Kyrie left nobody in their seats in his debut with the Nets as he dropped 50, 8 rebounds, and 7 assists in an overtime loss to those Timberwolves where he shot 50% for 3 and damn near 50% from the field overall. Man, like, what a debut.
Oh yeah, and he still lost, which is insane. And
yeah.
but you saw at the end of OT that NBA street shot that he almost made to win the game. I mean, the guy is insane. He has the best handles of anyone I've ever seen in my life.
Yeah, I don't know how he got that off, like the shot or the dribble, because I can do that move, not obviously at game speed or my game speed, certainly not his, but I can do that move, but only by carrying the ball. Like, I have to come underneath it to gain a good dribble. But I don't know how he did it. That's just insane. Then he hit the go-ahead 3 against the Knicks the next game, and then following him, the Sunday night game, him and Ja Morant in Memphis went head-to-head. He had 37, 7 and 7, got his final potential winning shot blocked by the rookie, where he also had a crazy hesitation move at the elbow, which had Jonas Valanciunas looking absolutely silly. So I've been not the biggest Kyrie fan just because of his antics and everything, which we'll talk about as well. But I love the play. I love how he just was ready to hoop this year and just seems reinvigorated.
Yeah, I mean, this is what he wanted. I mean, he wanted his own team that he can just run and just be the boss. And he's showing why he felt he was confident in himself for that to be the case. I mean, whether or not he can continue to carry a team throughout an entire 82-game schedule remains to be seen. But through the first 3 games, he's putting up the numbers that you would want to see out of a guy who has that amount of confidence in his ability.
Yeah, for sure. Now let's move on to a story that broke about an hour ago or so, hour and a half ago. Has to do with Kyrie Irving's mood swings on the Nets. The headline on Bleacher Report, and this is only the headline, did read the rest of the article. Report, Kyrie Irving's behavior is, quote, unspoken concern, unquote, makes Nets, quote, queasy, unquote. Sorry, I can't help but laugh at the word queasy.
I mean, yeah, not the best choice of words there.
But the thing is his moods. He has mood swings. He goes into funks where he shuts down, doesn't talk to people. He's unwilling to communicate with staff, front office, sometimes teammates. It happened apparently on the trip to China, and we were talking a little bit before and we were trying to see if this is an actual story or not, and how serious it should be taken. Because memes, of course, people speak in memes, and memes are just as quick as news comes out today. People were, making fun of Kyrie. I saw a Grim Reaper meme with the 3 doors of the Cavs, Celtics, and then it's like, Kyrie's been on a rampage since he won the finals. The Nets are next. I mean, that's all fun. Like, if the meme's funny, I get it. I'll laugh too. I probably like it. But it seems like it is an issue, possibly with his mental health. How do you feel?
But yeah, I mean, obviously, the internet's going to be the internet, and obviously they're going to meme something like that. Just given Kyrie's reputation, what he's done the last couple of years. But like you said, if he seriously has some issues going on in his head, then that needs to be taken seriously, obviously, because like we talked about before the pod came on, we talked about DeMar DeRozan and Kevin Love coming out within the last year or two about their mental health issues and how it's affected them and their lives. I don't know if Kyrie's ever going to open up about stuff and open up in a manner like that. But it certainly gives the indication, if this report is true, that Kyrie is dealing with some issues, and if that's the case, then he should get help.
It does point to it being like that. I do understand unwillingness to speak to people about just in general when you're in a funk, because I've done it before, and it's just it's interesting because they were received with so much love and compassion and understanding, and this is not. Maybe because it's not it's worded as mood swings. It's not literal like I deal with depression or anxiety. Like maybe that's right. I see where you were getting from, but still, it's worded as if there is a problem, and there is a problem with that.
Yeah, the thing is, the way this thing was worded, like you said, mood swings. He wasn't cooperating. It just makes it seem like, oh, he's just having hissy fits instead of triggering off, oh, he's dealing with mental issues. The wording definitely makes it seem like he has an attitude. It doesn't do Kyrie any favors whatsoever if he is in fact dealing with something.
Yeah, I can't agree with that, because when I read mood swings, I don't really attribute it to someone having an attitude. That's just me. I mean, but this isn't new-ish. Like there's been reports where Kyrie didn't speak to teammates during the 2017 postseason with the Cavaliers. Then there was times last year when he called out the young guys in Boston. It's interesting. And people like Kevin Durant has talked about it. He said, quote to Jackie McMullen, "I look at Kyrie as somebody who's an artist. You have to leave him alone. You know what he'll bring to the table every night because he cares so much about the game. Quote, now it might not be how other people want him to care about it. He has his way of doing things. I respect who he is and what he does. He has all the intangibles you want in a teammate and a great player. So how he gets to the point to be ready for 7:30 every night, I'm supporting him 100%. That seems fair.
Yeah, it's fair game. I mean, it's obviously if leaving him alone helps him cope with it, then that's fine. But at what point do you have to intervene and actually help the guy and just not sort of leave him to his own thoughts? You know what I mean?
Well, I guess it would be when that person decides to ask for help or actually address that they need some. Because someone that is stubborn or just has been doing this forever and is comfortable and used to pushing people away or just being by themselves until they get out of that feeling, and those feelings is that needs to be helped, but they need to want to do it. You can't try and pull them out of it, like force them to do it, because that usually doesn't work. They have to have a conscious effort to do it. And the Spencer Dinwiddie also commented on it. This is per Ian Begley of SNY, which is the New York sports station that covers the Knicks and Nets. He works for ESPN and covers the Knicks and Nets. I'm sorry, the Nets aren't covered by SNY. He said Irving has been a great teammate, and anyone who has those issues should address Irving directly. Very mature thing to say. And also, Nets coach Kenny Atkinson said, from his perspective, the notion that Irving's mood swings are a concern among Brooklyn team officials is totally false. So it's weird. It's where your bias lay if you believe this story. If you believe Irving is just a prima donna point guard, then you will say that these are just him having an attitude and him not getting his way and him just not wanting to talk to anybody. And then if you fall more on the side of the mental health chip, then you will say that these represent those feelings that he just doesn't express.
Yeah. It's basically the story kind of leaves it up to the reader. You know, you draw your own conclusion from it. But who knows? It could all be fake for all we know.
Fake news?
Yep.
Possibly. Possibly.
I mean, there's probably some ring of truth to it, but unless Kyrie addresses it, we'll never know.
You're right. Let's move on to a new segment called "What Are the Charlotte Hornets Doing?" Now it's time for "What Are the Charlotte Hornets Doing?" All right, now joining me is official Raptors correspondent, NBA referee evaluator, friend of the show, and basically the creator of this segment, Matt Larouche. How you doing, Matt?
Hey, what's going on, guys? Last year, I asked the question, what are the Charlotte Hornets doing? So let's take a look. To begin the season, they have started 1-3. Their big win against the Chicago Bulls, which picked by many analysts to make the playoffs in the East this year. So we know the Chicago Bulls are a solid team, right? That's a marquee win. You can mark it down on the schedule as a big win for the Charlotte Hornets. 1-3, what a start. Also looking, big newly acquired player, Terry Rozier, the $20 million man, who makes the same amount of money as the likes of Malcolm Brogdon, Draymond Green. He's averaging 13 points a game on 40% shooting, the highest mark of his career so far. Again, what a signing. Not only that, Devontae Graham looks better than him.
Yeah, I'm glad I picked him up on fantasy.
That's the second-year draft pick for the Charlotte Hornets, who I think makes the rookie min or whatever.
Let's see, I have the salaries right in front of me.
It can't be
1.4.
much, but Devontae Graham deserves that guy's minutes. So Terry Rozier, your $20 million man, gonna be a paperweight on the bench. Not only that, everybody else on this team makes way too much money. Nicholas Batum, $25 million. Bismack Biyombo, who hasn't been good since that Raptors run in, 2015 or 2016? I mean, that run made him a lot of money because he's making $17 million a year to basically just get rebounds and do nothing else.
Yeah, 27-year-old. 27, he's still making a healthy salary.
Exactly. Frank Kaminsky, who left, is actually killing it in Phoenix.
You have some stats? Or you just know he's doing better because he's on the
killing
Suns?
it. Here's the problem with Frank Kaminsky. If you just see him in the headlines saying, oh, he played good, he must have played good because you don't hear about him anytime else. So we'll leave it at that. What are the Charlotte Hornets doing? They're 1-3 right now, and that's actually better than what I expected. I expected them to be 0-4. So good on them for that. We'll check in a few weeks and see if they're not 5-40.
Yeah, I don't even know if they'll play 45 games by a few weeks, but by Matt's math, they will. Thank you for joining me, Matt.
We can just assume. We can always just predict the future. That's how this podcast works. We predicted a Raptors championship. You remember that?
Stop saying we. You did.
It's a collective effort.
I don't want to be in that collective that the Raptors broke my team's heart and then went on to win with a mercenary and Kawhi and then just said goodbye. Like, you'll never sniff the finals again.
And we got a ring.
Yeah, that's true. And I think that's where we should
Something
end.
that the Charlotte Hornets do not have.
And never will have as long as Michael Jordan is running the team and they have washed up Mitch Kupchak.
I don't know, man. Terry Rozier is 13 points a game on 40% shooting. That can win championships.
You make a great argument, my friend. Now, as always, thank you for joining me, Matt. We will check in a couple weeks to, make sure the Charlotte Hornets are still doing what they're doing. Thank you for joining me, Matt. Peace out, guys. All right. Thank you, Matt Larouche, for joining me for that segment. And now we are back to talk about the Warriors' bad start. I'm still here with my man, Joey DiProsperos. Joey, what do you make of the Warriors' bad start?
I mean, it's a worse start than I expected. I didn't come in with the expectations that, they're going to just be, world beaters and absolutely run over everybody like they did. No, I mean, KD's gone. Clay is out for possibly the rest of the season. And now you have Steph and Draymond with D'Angelo Russell and a bunch of, you have no idea. Some of these guys, you have no idea who they are. And you come in with it, and obviously everyone comes in with the expectation, Steph's just going to run over everybody and just put up 30, 35, 40 plus every given night, and they're going to somehow pull out wins. Well, it turns out that it's a team game. And they lost in the home opener, and then it got destroyed by OKC, and then picked up a win last night. But there are concerns with this team. I mean, they're putting out lineups that featured guys like Jordan Poole, Eric Pascal, Marquise Chris, Omari Spellman, Damian Lee, and Glenn Robinson III. And that's just not going to get it done. And, they have the third youngest roster in the league. They've been allowing a boatload of points. The defense has been way off, which we expected to happen, especially with the loss of Klay Thompson. And they're going to have to make some acquisitions, I guess, if they want to compete for that 5 or 6 seed in the West this year, being how loaded the West is.
Well, before their win last night, Monday night, against the New Orleans Pelicans in New Orleans, where they won by 11, the Warriors were 0-2, gave up 261 points in their first 2 games, and after that drubbing against the Oklahoma City Thunder in Oklahoma City, Draymond Green said they fucking suck. And he couldn't put it any other way. And if you watched that game, which I watched a little bit of it, you saw it. It was just not good. The miscommunications were there, the bad turnovers. They looked like a JV team on defense. A lot of the young guys have to step up. Like, you mentioned the whole roster, basically, and they need to step up because they actually are needed. They have a good 1 through 3 who can play high-level basketball, and then the rest they need. And this is odd. And the thing is with me is I tend to go the opposite way on purpose. So the internet loves the Warriors being bad now. They love them getting blown out by 40 or 30 or however much a blowout that they will receive on any night this year, right? But
yeah, exactly.
I want to see them overcome that because, like, it's now they're bullying the bully fans and other teams because they used to get up very much so to play the Warriors because they know they have to bring it because they were facing Klay, Steph, KD, Draymond, Andre Iguodala, not Boogie Cousins. They lost the center. Not Willie Cauley-Stein. Jordan Bell, people like that. Obviously not the biggest difference maker on offense, but they played as a complete team. But I was watching NBA TV last night, and now teams are getting up just as more because they were beaten so many times, and now the Warriors, it's like they have a wound and they have the bandage around it, or it's like a boxer. If you see somebody's hurt, you're going to attack that one area. If you hurt the guy's rib, you're going to keep punching his rib, or you're going to mix it in to keep hurting him, hurting said person. But I don't like that, personally. Because, like, that's part of the sport. Like, some teams are just that much better than you.
Yeah, obviously they're going to have a target on their shoulder being that they've been absolutely dominant the last few years, which is to be expected. And now they're a step down. So, obviously, they're going to get beat up more than they have the last few years. But I wanted to get back to the whole trolling thing, people trolling them, and finally sort of breathing a sigh of relief. Oh, now the Warriors' run of dominance is finally over. I mean, it was only 4 years of dominance. Imagine we're going up in the 90s with the Bulls teams basically running an entire decade. It wasn't that long. I mean, people kind of went a little overboard with this whole, this sort of relief that this torture is finally over. It wasn't that long, man.
Oh, yeah, and then you had a quote-unquote break to deal with the greatest Rockets teams of all time that won back-to-back. It's not like you had a chance in the 2 years the Bulls weren't good. It's the same thing.
But yeah, I'm not here to say that I feel bad for them. They have 3 championships. I mean, if the Sixers won 3 championships, I would be chilling. But I just think people go a little overboard with, this feeling of relief that the dynasty is now over.
Yeah, my thing is just people complain about, and I used to do it when I played organized sports more regularly when I was younger, is that when you play the really good teams, it's not fun. Like, you hate them because they beat you so bad. But they were just doing what they were supposed to do. They beat you. Like, they are better than you. That's the great part I like about sports. It's usually black and white.
Yeah, and I always relate this back to KD's decision with, to join Golden State. I mean, when you're coming up, don't you want to join the great team so that you can win? I mean, yeah, like when you're playing, your rec league or stuff like that, don't you want to be on the best team so that you can constantly win? And obviously, if you're on every other team that's getting dominated by that team, Rob's going to hate them. But I just think people go overboard with that kind of stuff.
Yeah, that's a good point, because people hate when a player has too much ego where he won't let someone better than him come onto his team or go to someone else's team to have the better overall situation and get the team goal, the collective goal of winning a championship. But then when Kevin Durant did it, it was bad. And I understand both sides. But my whole thing was like, once he did it, fuck it. You got to prepare like it's sports. Like, that's how it is. He plays it. He's on the other side. Now you prepare the best you can to beat them. Obviously, the era is over. But that's how I felt the whole time.
But, yeah, I mean, I just feel like we all just need to admire and appreciate greatness when it's right in front of us. And we witnessed greatness the last, 5 years.
Exactly. And the funny part about all this slander and all these meme makers that are so quick, I tweeted it when they were playing the Clippers. I was like, the first night that D'Lo and Steph get hot at the same time, and then you have Steph shimmy and D'Lo point to the ice in the veins, there's going to be people making memes about it in support of them. So it's just, the internet is fickle. Fans are fickle. It's just how it goes.
It's such a fun place. I mean, that's what makes NBA Twitter.
Yeah.
I mean, just look how everyone loved the Warriors when they won that first title, and then how quickly they flipped on them.
Yeah. It's crazy. I mean, I was okay with it because, like you said, appreciate greatness because it's right in front of you. We have some of the greatest players playing in this league right now, a few of the greatest teams playing in this league right now. It's just when you get your emotions into it too, that's where the confusion comes in.
Exactly.
All right. You have anything else before we move on to half-court hitters? Any other little tidbits?
I mean, I wanted to get back to one thing on the Sixers real quick because this is something we had been talking about the last day or so. Tobias Harris's slow start. I know that's been bothering you
Yeah.
a little bit.
I did give him his props.
So I want to hear your main gripes with Tobias so far in these first few games.
Well, this is the first time that I've reacted negatively so quickly in the season to a player. It's probably because of his contract, and I know the role he should be playing. Like I mentioned in the first game, passing up certain shots when you should be shooting because that's your job, or just being the scorer and just being more efficient and being the player that we traded for. Somebody that can average 20. I don't know if he will on this team, depending on the scoring distribution, and shooting 40% from three and 50% from the line. Not 50% from the line. That'd be atrocious. I mean, from the field, 90% from the line. Like, what he was doing when we traded for him. Because at the time we traded for, we, meaning the Sixers, I have a habit of doing that. The time they traded for Tobias Harris, Tobias and Steph Curry were the only two players at the time averaging 20 points, 50% from the field, 40 from three, and 90% from the free throw line. So something like that. And then given his contract, he should be performing like he is at least the number 2 option because he is more of a offensive threat than overtly than Ben or Big Al Horford. Ben is more of a distributor, and Big Al does everything you need and just the little things that don't really show up all the time. That's my gripe.
Yeah, and I level with all of that. I think it's only 3 games, so we can't get too crazy over a guy getting off to a slow start. But like you said, it's been sort of a trend with Tobias since he came to Philly. When you came in, you think, we're going to get this lockdown shooter who's going to be shooting 40+% from 3. And then he comes in last year and especially had a pretty dry shooting streak for a good majority of his time here last season. And it's sort of carried over, I guess, a little bit into the season. But, I mean, he's still shooting 35% from 3 to start the season. And he's still averaging 19 and 9, which you'll take any given time. But like you said, he has moments where he looks like that lockdown shooter that you thought you were going to be getting, especially in the Detroit game when he went off for almost 30, and he was knocking down all those open looks, hit a couple tough shots too. And then you get a game like last night against Atlanta where he missed pretty badly a bunch of open looks that that he's so capable of hitting. So I think he'll be better this year than he was the second half of last year for sure, being that he's in a more organized system, I guess, and the fact that he's going to be, the main cog on offense. So while it's fine to gripe on him right now, being that he's off to a bit of a slow start, but the fact that matters, they're 3-0. They're still figuring each other out, and I think he'll be better as the season goes on. Yeah,
make no mistake. I am not sports radio guy calling in saying, trade him, we should never sign him. We need, I don't know, name someone else that they had. Like, anybody besides him, he's a bum. He's terrible. He's not, how do we get these guys?
Give me Landry back.
Yeah, exactly. Like, I wouldn't mind him back, not over Tobias Harris, but, like, I just, it's okay, and I usually am the wait-and-see guy. Like, come on, man, let's just relax. Like, they're professionals. They'll figure it out. Like, you got to give them some time. Like, they play 82 games. But
yeah, that's what gets you mad. It's the fact that that he can do this, but he doesn't show it almost. But there are times when he does things where you're like, dude, you can do better than that.
Exactly, and I feel like it would have been some of the same problems wouldn't be as glaring since they had a full summer to get to know each other off the court and on the court. Then the training camp, the scrimmage, preseason, I feel like that would have been enough time possibly to have some of the problems that I have be neutralized. But that hasn't been the case yet. The Detroit game made me really believe all right, cool, we can see this. So I'm fine with that. It's just
and the concerns that we had going into the season early have kind of shown. They're 25th in turnovers right now. They're averaging 18.5 a game. They're only shooting 32% from 3, which is 8th worst, I believe, in the league. But they're rebounding the ball. They're racking up assists, and they're getting steals and blocks like it's their job, which it is their job. So, I mean, I think a lot of these issues that they've had early on are going to get smoothed out over the course of an entire 82-game schedule.
All right. I agree with you because that's just what good to great teams do. Real quick, before I have one last tidbit as well. The Eastern Conference Player of the Week last week was Trae Young, who absolutely lit it up. And the Western Conference Player of the Week last week was Karl Anthony Towns. 2 players I have on 2 separate fantasy teams, so I'm glad I drafted them. I'm really enjoying fantasy basketball. I know you didn't do it, but I just feel more engaged, even more so than having the podcast and writing and just having League Pass to watch the NBA and pay attention to the little things.
Yeah, I kind of wish I would have done it, but I just know that with fantasy basketball, I would have lost attention within a week or two. Even though I know how much fun it would be and how more attentive it would make me to be watching games.
Yeah, exactly. Let's move on to half-court hitters and finally have an intro song for that. So that will be debuted right now. Here is half-court hitters. It's finally that time. Time for the half-court hitters segment, where myself and someone else join alongside me answer 10 questions about the NBA. rapid fire, possibly. Sometimes it may go longer. It all depends on who I'm talking to. All right. Hope you guys enjoyed the Half Court Hitters song or intro. If I just get the intro right, then that would be a lot better. First question to you, Joey, and myself, I will answer. Why doesn't Amari Stoudemire hit up Carmelo Anthony to join him in China? In case you guys didn't know, Amari Stoudemire signed a 1-year deal with the Fujian Sturgeons in China.
Yeah, I mean, I'm still of the opinion that, Carmelo should definitely go over to China because he's going to be an absolute star there. And imagine, I just love how China is now a spot for all washed up NBA players that have just been kicked out of the league. I absolutely love it. And I would imagine a duo of Amari Stoudemire and Carmelo Anthony in China would absolutely just light up crowds over there.
I agree. I think he should. I mean, since Melo is not going to get a look in the league anytime soon, I mean, we haven't seen any rumblings, no Twitter reports, no rumors, no nothing. So why not make the Fujian Sturgeons relevant like they did once with the New York Knicks when they made the second round one time? Remember that?
Yeah, that was fun.
Let's get to the next question. If you are caught with testing positive for PEDs as an NBA player, are you coming up with a lie?
I'm an honest guy, so I would honestly take the L in that situation. But if my life depended on it and I had to come up with a lie, I would just literally come up with the cliched. I had no idea I was taking it. It was given to me and I had no idea what was in it. I would be honest about it, but if I had to come up with a lie, I would be like, I had no idea.
You know what? I personally and honestly, I do agree with you. I just think it's too much work to lie. You got to remember what you said. You got to come up with one. But for the fun and spirit of the podcast, because we can't be agreeing the whole time, which I don't know if we have been, but somewhat it feels like it. But I'm coming up with the lie that, I was just trying to be more in shape, and I went to the GNC, and somehow the guy was my height but didn't play basketball and told me to take this supplement, and it works for him, and he was in great shape. So I was like, really? That's interesting. And being second year in the league, you might not know all the rules, so you might come up with this mistake, and that's my excuse.
But yeah, I mean, I just think that it's so rare. You almost never see guys get suspended for PEDs in the NBA. So that was a little shocking that someone actually got caught again, or that a guy especially a guy like DeAndre Ayton gets caught doing that kind of stuff.
Well, I was thinking. Also, my first reaction, I was like, of course he got caught with this because he did make money at Arizona when he wasn't supposed to. I know it's different from PEDs, but it's two things you're not supposed to be doing within the confines of the rules. So I was like, that kind of makes sense.
Yeah, he's a big rule breaker.
Yes, he is. Let's move on to next question, and it stems from Kelly Oubre being fined $10,000 and Markieff Morris being fined $35,000 for inappropriate language directed toward an official. Would you ever appeal a fine from the league?
Depends on my situation. If I'm end of the bench and I'm living basically paycheck to paycheck, I'm doing whatever I can. I'm hiring all the best lawyers in America to try to fight that fine because I need that money. But if you're a guy like Kelly Oubre, Markieff Morris making 6-7 figures at the moment right now, you just take the L. Take that fine.
We shouldn't have talked before the podcast because you took my answer.
But yeah, exactly.
All right, let's move on to a question that is now up in the air. As everyone knows, Zion Williamson is out 6 to 8 weeks with a torn meniscus. Who is the second favorite for Rookie of the Year behind Ja Morant of the Memphis Grizzlies?
I know we're going to be in agreement on this, but it has to be R.J. Barrett.
Yeah, so far RJ's been really, really playing like an NBA player, very, very seamlessly, scoring and grabbing rebounds and playmaking. I've liked what I've seen from Barrett. I agree with you. I feel like a third place, if Zion doesn't perform the way he could perform, could be Tyler Hero of the Heat. I think.
You could also make a case for Kobe White, too.
Him as well. Another case that I just like him as a player. He hasn't really shown much in Washington. I like Rui Hachimura, but who knows? Let's move.
But yeah, it's gonna be interesting to see though, because if Zion doesn't play, a crazy amount of games and he kind of doesn't live up to expectations, John Morant could easily just run away with Rookie of the Year this year.
Yeah, he already had his NBA moment when he scored 17 in the fourth quarter against Brooklyn on Sunday.
Oh yeah, he went toe to toe with Kyrie Irving.
That was great television.
And he's 19, 20, and he's 19, 20 years old.
Just incredible television. Let's move on to already halfway through these questions right now, Joey. Are you rooting for D Rose to be sixth man of the year?
Absolutely. Do I think he gets it? I mean, as long as Lou Will is in the league, he's going to be racking up six man of the year every single year for the rest of his career. But D Rose sort of fits the mold of the idealized sixth man, that sort of bucket getter, offensive spark you call on to get in the game and help your team get on a run. And he's shown flashes of the old D Rose. Obviously, he's still a shell of himself because of all these injuries, but he still shows that burst on occasion to the rim. He's still got the mid-range game. The long range is still iffy, but he's pretty much embraced that role, and he's kind of running with it right now.
Well, he might wind up as starter because Reggie Jackson just is not cutting it in Detroit. But if he winds up being sixth man, I am rooting for him as well because he's one of my favorite players of all time. I had the Derrick Roses in his MVP season. His first 3 games this year, they played the fourth one last night. I didn't update the stats from it, but he's averaging 18 on 55% shooting. Here's 3 games, sorry. 18 on 55% shooting, 27 on 69% shooting, and 31 on 67% shooting. So those numbers, if he even slightly keeps them up, if he just goes down to 18 and averaging 50, that's six-man worthy if Lou Will doesn't average 20 off the bench. And he's averaging a higher points per 36 than his MVP year so far at 34.6 points per 36 minutes. So
yeah, I have a follow-up for you. Who would you rather have your six-man right now, D Rose or Lou Will?
Well, I have two brains to answer that. Well, I have two spectrums to answer that from, my heart and my head. I would answer Lou Williams because he's the reigning 2-time six-man of the year. He's won it 3 times. But Derrick Rose, my heart, because Derrick Rose was my guy 9 years ago, and I always loved his play. And he would have been one of the stars in the league to this point today if he never gotten hurt.
Yeah. I mean, you obviously you take Lou Will right now just because it'd be the no-brainer choice. But if you want to be sentimental and have and just bring that sort of edge to your team, you add D Rose.
Yeah, definitely. Now, next question: will the in-between game ever become part of an offense again?
Not as long as Daryl Morey's in the league. I mean, because the game is always changing, so there's always the chance that it makes a comeback. But I don't think it comes back anytime soon because the fact of the matter is layups and three-point shots are the most efficient way to try to win a game. It just comes down to that.
Yeah, I tend to disagree. At some point, I feel like if you have the right roster construction, it could make its way into an offense just a bit because then you need to contest at 15 feet, making a few more feet open for possible drop-off passes to bigs or kickouts. So things like that. And also, I'm a fan of the mid-range.
Yeah, and like we talked about before we started recording, it's not necessarily that the in-between game is kind of obsolete right now. You still need to have guys on your team that, if they're open from 15 feet away, they're going to need to be able to hit that shot if nothing else is available. So whether or not that becomes the main emphasis of a team's game strategy and whether or not they can win games consistently with that remains to be seen.
Yeah, definitely. Let's move on to, the 8th question. Would you watch Kevin Durant's final season of ball if he played in Spain? This question, I got it from Serge Ibaka's How Hungry Are You YouTube show, where he asked Kevin Durant if he would ever play in the EuroLeague, and KD said he's a very big fan of it. It's the second best league in the world, and he's wanted to play for Barcelona.
Yes, I would watch. I mean, I absolutely love KD. So anywhere he goes, I would obviously be watching.
I'll one-up you. I'll go to Spain for a game.
I'll join you. I'll go to Spain. I'll throw some money down on some plane tickets.
All right, bet. You got your passport?
Yeah, just actually got it a couple months ago.
Found
First
it?
time I've had a passport in 7 years.
So it's close to being expired then.
No, I got a new one.
Oh, I thought you said you found it.
Yeah, I haven't had to use one in 7 years.
Okay. Let's move on to the next question. Are you in support of Kawhi Leonard's new merchandise?
Yes, take my money. I will be buying multiple What It Do baby shirts.
I kind of like the subtle shot of the second merch shirts. City view over interviews. Clearly speaks to Kawhi's personality. He don't want to talk to any of us.
They need to make it in the most bland font possible, like just straight Comic Sans.
I think they should make it in an MLA format.
But put a bibliography on the back.
Yeah, for sure. They already followed the trademark for it. I'll definitely buy a What It Do baby shirt just because I like that phrase anyway. I don't know how he gets attributed to it because people definitely have said that before. It's just weren't recorded. Also, we still don't know what he was doing with his thumbs.
Yes, I think we need a full investigation on that.
We need to know what car it was in, what time. Well, we know what day it was. It was on the day of the Raptors parade. Something I don't want to mention ever again. But
I'm still mad. I'm still so salty about that, man.
Yeah, let's not talk about it. Speaking of salt and possible salt that some fans would have, I know you don't have any salt towards this man, but are you fish-eyeing Markelle Fultz's play in Orlando?
I am watching. I'm aware of his presence and how he's doing. I'm obviously going to be rooting for him as a human being because I want him to succeed, and I really hope he overcomes everything, and I want him to be a good player. But if he comes to Philly, obviously I'm not going to be rooting. I'm going to be rooting against him.
Yeah, I hear you. I'm paying attention because I've said it before. I liked him as the number one pick at the time. Then I did support him until we found out what the issue was. And now I have an episode titled Markelle Fultz Might Be Johnny Flynn. So I'm seeing if I will be right or wrong in that aspect. I'm definitely paying attention because, yeah, the Magic are a team to watch as well. And if he is exciting, it's great. If he's bad, it just adds to one of the more bizarre stories in NBA history. So, yeah, you definitely have my eyes.
But yeah, I mean, he's off to a decent start, and he's taking threes. But, I mean, I just want the kid to be happy.
Yeah, I hear you. Now, the final question of half-court hitters. What is the worst ejection of Week 1? Bradley Beal, D'Angelo Russell, or Mike Scott?
Mike Scott, it's not even close.
I don't know.
Not even close. It's not even close.
I don't know, man. And that's my guy, of course.
I mean, he gave him a love tap, and they gave him a flagrant 2 and kicked him out.
Yeah, that's where I have a hard time arguing it. But at the same time, with the referee kicking, and mine is more so to Bradley Beal. It was 1:10 left in that game. The Mavericks were up 7 on the Wizards. Like, what would be the point of ejecting him when he was saying something? But at that point, you can't have the ego as the referee to then kick him out. That's just how I feel. I didn't understand it. Like, just have him talk and say whatever. And then when you guys cross paths again, when you referee another game of his, maybe you have the conversation about it or after the game. I don't know. It's not that close, but yeah, Mike Scott's was bad. But Bradley Beal's, that was bad too. Come on, man.
Yeah, they're not the best start for refs this season.
Yeah, that's also another thing I have. I know we're highlighting bad parts about the refs, but they have been a lot better this year, especially calling the travels.
Yes. Yeah, they've gotten better with that, but as far as, managing, heated conversations like that and flagrant twos apparently now too, it's just not the best start that they would have liked for.
Yeah, you're definitely right. Now, let's get in some plugs. Joey, where can we find you on social media?
You can follow me on @JoeyD_6 on Twitter, capital J and capital D. And you can also follow me on Instagram if you want to, @JoeyD_6, no capitalized. And obviously go follow all my guys over at Sixer Sense. Obviously, they're dishing out a good deal of content. Got some bright, smart guys over there. And obviously go follow my boy Justin. And you can go ahead and plug your stuff per usual.
That's a great pass. Bounce pass. I'm going to hit the layup right now. You can follow me @_J DiVirgilio on Twitter and Instagram. You can follow the podcast on Instagram @The Outlet Pass Podcast. You can follow it on Twitter @Pass_podcast. You can follow the podcast on Apple Podcast. Rate, review, subscribe. Spotify, like, share. Tell a friend to tell a friend. SoundCloud, like, repost, share, follow. YouTube, Justin DiVirgilio on that. Subscribe, like, comment, share, tell a friend to tell a friend. All that good stuff. Just search the Outlet Pass Podcast. You'll find it. If I said some whack shit, tell me. If I said some dope shit, tell me. This has been the Outlet Pass Podcast. The ball being our opinions, and we're passing it out to you. Peace.